Hello, uh, this is Niev, and I'm going to do a reading for Hers Bad on a website. Um, and she has asked me, um, well, she had two questions. She was uh, curious about her relationship with her boyfriend, and she was feeling kind of concerned about it, that sometimes she's getting mixed messages, and wants to know if basically if he's the one, and if their relationship is good. And she also had a more serious question about her long her life with depression, and wanted to know, will I ever be happy? And I really felt that even though she initially just wanted to know about the relationship, I felt that we needed to cover her depression issues first and foremost, because that's the most important thing here. And I did already do these readings, and they're all typed up. So you're not seeing any of uh, the stones or the candles or the incense that I had out here. But I did have various things when I did the actual reading. Um, all right, and here is what her reading was for the depression issue. The first part of it, um, hold on, I'm scrolling here. Uh, the first question, or the first part, the first position in this spread is what brings you the most joy? And we got the Hanged Man here. And then it was other aspects of joy, which is the Emperor. Your contribution, oops, wrong card, your contribution to your your joy, and uh, the root cause of your depression, which is the King of Pentacles. This was the Devil. And the last card is advice, basically, on how to move forward. Okay, and what we've got here, um, what brings you the most joy is we're getting the Hangman here, and this represents a lot of personal enlightenment, viewing things from a different perspective, um, experiencing the present, the here and now, getting in touch with your spiritual self. Here we have a man tied to a tree, alone in the winter forest. He's stuck and his legs are frozen over. However, while this may seem like a negative situation, he does not seem to be bothered by it. He's at peace. There's sunlight reaching to his head, indicating the enlightenment and the glimmer of hope, like the lone flower here. Um, in the winter scene, there's a flower bud, and there's also some leaves on this tree, indicating a hope, or you know, something like that. And he's content, at peace. He's reflecting on himself. This may not ring true to you, or maybe you're unaware of this, but you are most at peace when you are alone. You're also finding peace with broadening your mind, opening your mind to new possibilities. Other aspects of joy, we have the Emperor here, and this is a strong masculine energy. You find joy when you are partnered with a strong man, and situations are clear and stable, no messy drama or games. I get a romantic vibe from this card as well. You find joy with being with your partner, basically. Um, your contribution to your level of joy. This one's the harder one. because this shows a lot of destructive behavior. The devil typically indicates temptation, overindulgence, addiction, and generally tempting behavior that isn't good for us and only gives us temporary satisfaction. With this deck, which this is my son's deck actually, and I normally don't use this deck, but I felt lately I've been wanting to use it. And with this deck, we're some decks will show the devil where we've got uh, desserts, extravagant desserts, which would obviously indicate an overindulgence or temptation, and other decks will show different images, same like in the same line. This deck, however, has a very racy card. It's very you know, sexual, and lustful, and it's I'm getting really specific energy here, and it's showing unhealthy relationships in the past. Um, Here's, two people who are engaged in lustful intercourse. Wrapped around them is a fiery rose, and the thorns have caused scratches all over their bodies. What I'm getting from this is that throughout your life, you've tried to find joy and relief from depression through your romantic relationships. Unfortunately, you've really been through the ringer with relationships, and they've, for the most part, been bad for you. They've provided brief satisfaction, but then go downhill. This card really shows um, unhealthy relationships and attachments, and you've realized that the type of relationships you've been involved in haven't fulfilled you in the way that you would have hoped. And then we're moving down to the root of the depression. And we have the King of Pentacles here. For most tarot readers, for many tarot readers, um, court cards, pages, knights, queens, kings, indicate people in the client's life, specific people. Normally, when I read court cards, I read them by their meaning themselves instead of applying them to a person. I will, however, after reading individual cards, I'll notice whether there were a lot of, or a little, or a lot or little to no court cards in a reading. Typically, if there are a lot of court cards, I'd read it as the situation involving a lot of people, not just the client, or the client has many people around him that is affecting the situation. If there are no court cards, that tells me that the situation is just about the client and that he needs to focus on himself. However, in this case, for your reading and for your situation, I strongly feel that this King of Pentacles indicates a person in your life, most likely a father-type figure. Maybe your father, grandfather, or uncle, or some sort of father figure, an older man. A stern man, overly strict, possibly selfish. I'm also seeing parallels between the man in the King of Pentacles and the man in the Emperor. Um, you didn't receive the correct kind of love and affection that the King of Pentacles was supposed to give you, and that has stemmed a deep depression in you that led to self-esteem issues and looking for love in the wrong places. That's where we see this again. I don't know what your relationship was like with your father, so I can't say for sure if the king is representing him. But like I said, this feels very like someone who was responsible for you and didn't treat you well, a father-like figure. And the last card is the advice to overcome. And we've got the Five of Wands here. The Five of Wands. Okay. The Five of Wands usually indicates some sort of fight, argument, competition, teamwork. I mean, it can be negative, fighting, arguing, or it can be positive, like about sports or working with others, competition, teamwork. In this deck, we're seeing two men arm wrestling, and um, but this feels more like a friendly competition. Like it doesn't feel so negative like a lot of decks have this card. Um, I, I'm to me, I'm getting a sense that you feel like you've been fighting your whole life. This is the fight with your inner self-doubts and depression. You're tired of fighting and just want it to be over with. When things are going well and something bad happens, you suddenly feel defeated. Sometimes you almost look for something bad to happen because you think you don't deserve to be happy. This is again coming from the King of Pentacles. What you have to realize, though, is that sometimes bad things will happen, and that's okay. It happens to all of us. We need conflict in our lives, or nothing will ever excite us. Realize, though, that you're not the cause of these conflicts. You're not unlucky or doomed. You just need to open yourself up, and here's back to this. Open yourself up to the experience and take things in stride. And that brings us full circle back to the Hangman, who, while in what would seem to be a dire situation, he's found peace in opening his mind and being at one with himself. All right, so that was that reading. And then I did a separate reading. I put all these cards back in the same deck, and it just happened to be different cards for this reading. We did the love question, the relationship dynamic between you and your boyfriend. All right, and this first card, hold on. This first card is your gut feeling about the relationship. And I think I have to move it over a little bit. Yes, right here. Then this is the Knight of Pentacles, and then the physical compatibility of your relationship, the physical connection. We're getting the Five of Chalices here. Then the emotional connection is the Six of Chalices. The intellectual, let me move this up a little bit. The intellectual compatibility or connection is the Four of Wands. Spiritual connection is the Moon. And the last card is the question you need to ask yourself, or advice, which is the Hermit. Okay, from the beginning. The Knight of Pentacles. You find your boyfriend to be a dependable person and maybe a bit cautious in life. I also feel like you sometimes get caught up in the details of the relationship. This reminds me of your previous reading when things are good, your low self-esteem starts to kick in, and you see problems when there are none. Your partner feels like a practical and intelligent guy, but maybe a bit childish at times. And I get that because this is a knight instead of a king. And you guys are at the stage in your lives when you would be much more mature. So when we get the knight to represent him, it tells me that he can be a little bit childish sometimes, and not really act his age sometimes. But he's also loyal and reliable. the physical aspects of your relationship. Okay, this card is a little bit sad, and I, it's it, it's not reflecting the actual physical nature of your relationship. It's reflecting how you're responding to the physical nature of your relationship. And I feel like this is very much connected to the previous reading with the devil. Um, okay, you, this is where your self-esteem is kicking in. In your previous reading, the devil indicated that you were turning to unhealthy relationships to try to diminish your depression. Here we're seeing your worry over not connecting with your partner on a physical level. You're feeling self-conscious and maybe that you're not enough for your partner. Um, were you cheated on in the past? Is this this is something that is a real issue for you, and I feel like it's always been an issue for you. Um, you crave that closeness and intimacy of a physical relationship, and I really feel that you fear rejection and, well, frankly, just like this card is showing, being left out in the rain. um, that's not meaning that there's nothing wrong with the sexual relationship between you two, the physical relationship. I I'm feeling like this is all something that's more in your mind, in your perspective, because of the self-esteem issues that you've dealt with your whole life. It, you're very connected to that spiritual or that physical aspect of a relationship. And if it's slowed down at all, which tends to happen in long-term relationships, it's something that I feel like you're taking personally. And you when that's not really warranted. You know what I mean? Anyway, let me take away the devil. Okay, and then we get to um, your emotional connection. And here we're seeing the Six of Chalices, and the Six of Chalices is talking about nostalgia and looking into the past. And we're seeing that here with her looking into the pond, and she's seeing a reflection of her and her partner way past when in happier times. And uh, I feel like this is very connected with this card. The Six of Chalices, you and your partner are getting past that honeymoon stage of a relationship, and that might be scary for you. And you worry now that the passion has started to fade, and and that happens in all long-term relationships. Um, and because it's starting to maybe slow down, you're feeling like you may not be exciting enough for him anymore. But remember, passion is not what makes a long-lasting relationship. Of course, we all want some passion in our relationships, of course, no matter how long we've been together. But as a relationship ages, it evolves. If a relationship can last past that initial honeymoon stage and evolve into a trusting, respectful, and loving companionship, then nothing is really lost by the slowed down passion. Instead instead of focusing on what you guys were when you first got together, focus on where you are now and how your relationship can evolve in the future. Okay, and then we're moving on to the intellectual connections, intellectual compatibility. Um, and a lot of what this position is referring to is is your outlook on life. And the Four of Wands is all about building a stable home, celebration, family life, contentment, stability. And you can see that here with the tree house. It's quite a literal representation of that. And this is really showing that the two of you having a stable life, and I really see that as you and your partner having very similar outlooks on life and a lot of the same viewpoints. Here we go. And I feel like you guys are very compatible in this sense. When it comes to an intellectual sense, you and your partner are very compatible. All right, and then we're moving on to the spiritual compatibility. And here we've got the moon. Now, the moon is a very spiritual and mystical card, and it has a lot to do with mystery. Honestly, I'm not feeling his energy here at all. I'm really just feeling you here. And I'm getting that when it comes to this, you two are on different levels. You're the type that is more apt to delve into your spirituality and higher self, whereas he's more grounded and practical and maybe not totally uninterested in spirituality, but certainly not interested to the level that you're interested in it. And we're also seeing this too with the position of these cards. We're seeing him very down to earth and connected to the physical and practical, and you being more, I guess, up in the air and more, in your head and in the clouds and contemplative. And whereas he's more practical and down to earth. As to how this is going to affect your relationship, quite frankly, the very nature of the moon is it's a mystery. It's really unknown and that's the conundrum of the moon. Is the moon is very mystical and mysterious, and really it's unknown how this will affect your relationship. Now, the question or advice you need to ask yourself is the Hermit. And here I am seeing a huge parallel and a huge similarity between the Hermit and the Hanged Man from your previous reading. Both of these cards are stressing time for yourself, getting to know yourself. Before you can truly be happy in a relationship or happy in life in general, you have to get to know yourself, which you've never really done. Now that doesn't mean you need to break it off with your boyfriend and all your friends and families and move off into the mountains to be, a hermit and to reach enlightenment. But you do need to work on yourself. Your self-esteem craves it. You've never truly gotten to know yourself, and that's a big reason why you don't know how to be at peace with yourself in your life. You don't want to take I don't want you to take this the wrong way. And it's certainly not meant as any sort of attack or any other with anything other than positive energy and intent. But have you thought about possibly seeing someone, a professional, who could help you through these issues, if that's at all possible. I really urge you to look into it. Right now, you really truly need to love yourself before you can commit to others, and that's a theme I'm seeing with both readings, is focusing on yourself. Um, and overall review, along with the previous cards. We're seeing a lot of repeat influences from the first reading to your second. The advice in both strongly recommend alone time to really work on yourself. The Hangman and the Hermit, that's primarily where we got that from. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to break up with your partner, not at all. But rather you need to understand that you don't need a partner to make you feel good about yourself. He obviously is a source of joy, and we get that from the Emperor. He's a source of joy and stability in your life. Even if you have bumps in the road, really he's a source of joy for you, and so we don't so you'd obviously want to keep him in your life, but before you can fully commit, and by that I mean marriage, before you really take the plunge and get married, you have to work on yourself and your issues. You have to learn how to love yourself and see the worth in yourself before you can commit to someone else. And that's what the cards have shown for us today for you. I hope this really helps you, and I hope you really see that you are worth loving, and you have to learn to love yourself. If you can't do that on your own, then I really do urge you to look into some sort of professional help, something to really get you to look at the issues in your life and how to overcome them. Anyways, I hope this was helpful, and thank you. Have a good evening.